Well, Vic, here we are. December's here. January is just around the corner. What are your overall reflections on 2024 from a personal point of view?
From a personal point of view, I would say that 2024 was probably the most difficult season that I've ever had. Not just in my time at Durham, but as a groundsman. It was really difficult for one reason or another, and yeah, it was tough.
I guess tough is the right word to where the season started. I guess that rained-off game against Hampshire. Just take us back to that week and the frustrations you and the team felt.
Yeah, that week was pretty horrific because we lost all 4 days of the Hampshire game, as you know, and that for me was really frustrating because I did feel at times that maybe we should have been playing cricket when we weren't playing cricket, and so it was difficult. And I mean, our job is about putting cricket on. If we're not seeing cricket being played out there, it comes as a sort of reflection upon us and what we've done.
I guess the winter we had was pretty wet, wasn't it? So I guess the rainfall we had in the lead up to that Hampshire game kind of that led to the disruption, I guess.
Yeah, the winter was horrific. I mean, we finished late September as normal, did all of our end of season work, which normally takes a couple of weeks to get that done, put new seed in the ground, a new covering of soil over the top of it to give the seed a chance to grow. And then it just rained and rained and rained, and it rained from early October through until that first game and beyond. And so that seed that we'd put down in October 23 just sat in water all winter, and instead of growing, it rotted off. That left us going into early season where you'd normally hope for a good coverage of grass, and we had nothing. All we had on the square was a little bit that was left from the previous year, plus any weed grass that had managed to grow over the winter, and that's totally the wrong type of grass to be playing cricket on. And so the pitches at the start of the season really were in poor condition. And then following on from that, the spring that we had was very cold. And the grasses that we grow really need to get 8 degrees soil temperature to make them grow. So it was no point putting any seed down early season because it just wasn't going to grow. And so I honestly think that we didn't start growing grass here last year until about the middle of June, by which time half of our season's gone. We play so much early and late that half of our season had been done by middle of June. So we were playing on pitches that really had very little grass on, and the grass we did have was not suitable for good cricket to be played on.
Yeah, I was going to mention that the wet winter. What impact does that have on the quality of pitches from your point of view?
Oh, it's massive. I mean, people look at cricket pitches that you're playing on, and normally they'll see them white, and you think, well, there's no grass on there. But actually, what you're looking for is strong roots. And because we didn't grow any grass over the winter, there was nothing putting any roots down. It's the root that holds the pitches together. And we had no roots. The weed grasses that did grow, they don't produce roots. They just grow on top of the soil. And added with that, because it had been so wet, we had a layer of algae that went right across the square, which is like a slimy moss, which is pretty horrible. And what that does is, if you've got a combination of grass, algae, moss, it creates two-paced pitches. If the ball hits one patch, it'll go on quicker and bounce more. If it's another patch, it cushions and it takes the pace out. So the batsmen have got no confidence to play their shots properly. Yeah,
so you mentioned that April, May was obviously poor weather. When were you finally pleased with what you were preparing, if you look back at last summer?
I think probably it wasn't until July. I think it was our last 2 championship games. Our one-day pitches were poor the whole of the season. It wasn't until our last 2 championship pitches, I think we played Nottinghamshire, and then the last one was Kent. I think Nottinghamshire was the first decent pitch that we'd had, which I think might have just been into August. So we played the majority of the season. I remember we missed the first game completely. The second game we played was Essex on one of my best pitches, right in the middle of the square. And when I produced the pitch, it literally had not a blade of grass on it. It was like a subcontinent pitch. And it was horrible. There was no bounce, there was no pace. It was just an awful cricket pitch.
Yeah, the Somerset game was quite early on as well, which finished in just over 2 days. Go back, can you reflect on that and the preparations which went into that? Because that was early on again, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Somerset pitch, we played pretty well down the scorebox, the old scorebox side of the ground. By that stage, what we decided what we were going to do is just walk across the square and look for an area that did have some grass on and say that we'll play on there. And we played on a pretty green pitch, I remember. I remember Ben Stokes played, and Ben Stokes bowled particularly well in the game. But I think I'm correct in saying that in that game, Somerset had got a bit of a bug on the coach journey up. And certainly one of their players didn't bat in the second innings. And I think this bug started to run throughout the whole team whilst they were up here. And I'm not sure they were particularly up for playing cricket. They didn't feel their best. And so we got a good win there, which was great. But I don't think it had a great deal to do with the pitch, to be honest with you.
You mentioned the one-day pitches were poor. Obviously, we got quite a lot of success and good feedback from the international, men's international and women's international pitches. The men's international, it was a very wet week here in Chesley Street. The reaction around social media was, this game's never going to go ahead. And I spoke to you that morning and you were pretty confident after a very, very wet week. So how pleasing is that for you, knowing how well we did that week in England and Australia, obviously, put on a good show? Yeah,
you're absolutely right. The one-day pitches last year were awful. I've recently just had the pitches league table come through. Every pitch we play on is marked by a match referee. And as I say, I got the league table through a couple of weeks ago. And my pitches, I was bottom of the league table, which was very frustrating and quite embarrassing. So then the international for me it's probably the best pitch that we've had all season. And I was really pleased with the way that it played because, yes, we had 2 days of solid rain leading up to the game. But where we'd been lucky is that for 2 weeks before that, we'd had really good weather. And so with the international being so late in September, my view was I really wanted to get started earlier than I probably normally would do because we'd get some bad weather somewhere along the line. And so that pitch was probably ready 3 or 4 days before the international. So with it being under covers for 2 days, it's not great. It's not ideal for that to happen, but it wasn't the end of the world because the pitch was ready. Had it been a 4 or 5 day game, we possibly wouldn't have got away with it. But because it was a 1 day game, we were in pretty good position. And I was adamant that game was going to take place. I told everybody that the game would take place, and still at 8 o'clock in the morning of the match, I was telling everybody the game was going to go ahead, but it was still spitting. And I was thinking, God, I might have made a mistake here. But I'm a bit of a stubborn old cuss, and if I get something in my head that I'm going to do something, I try to make it happen. And the lads were brilliant. The lads got behind me fully, and we managed to get the game on. I know there were 1 or 2 players who were thinking, well, maybe we shouldn't have been playing in those conditions, but it actually turned out to be a really good game, enjoyable game. And sadly, we just ran out of time at the end. The rains came back in when England didn't need too many to win. And Harry Brook was going particularly well. And I think most people that came on the day had a really good day, unless there was the odd Australian or 2. But it was a great day. And it's that, for me, gives me such a buzz. Because we always want to see our pitches playing as well as we can.
Yeah, I mean, the forecast for that day was shocking, wasn't it? And leading up to it, I know you don't always look at the forecast, but I guess, do you have some sort of thoughts in your mind, or the forecast, does this change my preparation, or is it just a case of, I'll just do what I've got to do to get ready for that game?
Yeah, I can't allow the forecast to influence me. I've done that too many times in the past. You look at the forecast and then you plan your day because they say it's going to rain at midday, so you don't take the covers off in the morning because you know
Yeah.
the rain's coming. But then actually the rain doesn't come until 6 p.m. and you think, well, I've wasted a day. I haven't taken the covers off, and it can go the other way as well. So I don't tend to worry too much about forecasts. And I don't plan by the forecasts. Naturally, like everybody else, I look at the weather in the morning. I'm not one of these people for sitting on the phone all the day and looking at weather apps. I don't do that. I watch the BBC in the morning on breakfast news, get a general idea of what the forecast may be, and after that, I just go with whatever we get.
Yeah, so here we are, Vic, in December. The outfield and pitches look pretty good. How pleased are you with the work which has gone on so far to get ready for season 2025?
I mean, totally opposite to the previous year. Whereas last year it didn't stop raining. This year the conditions couldn't have been better. We've had warmth. We're still reasonably warm now. It's been dry. We've had a little bit of rain when we've needed it. So growing conditions have been fantastic. We've now got a full coverage of grass on the square, whereas we had nothing last year. I mean, I'm in a really good position at the moment. Even today, on the end of December, a week before Christmas, I'm able to get out on the square and work on it. This time last year, I couldn't even walk on it. So hopefully, if all things go well next season, there'll be no excuses for me. And if the pitches don't perform next year, then I really will be in trouble.
Yeah, I was going to say that because if you look back this time last year, there was a lot of water on the square. So how good does that make you feel? And fingers crossed that you're going to go into hopefully a dry spring and then ready to go come April.
Oh, it's brilliant. I mean, we're in a fantastic position. Hopefully, as you say, that continues through the spring. Another thing that we couldn't do last year is we couldn't get rollers out onto the field. Normally, in February, we'd be rolling the pitch to get it really hard so that the ball's going to bounce well. Last year, we didn't roll at all in pre-season. So that's the next plan now is we carry on through January and get that out of the way. But from February, we'll have the machines out there, weather permitting, and we'll be preparing for March the 20, whatever it is for the university game.
Yeah, let's start with the university game. A busy schedule again next summer, something which you'd go through in fine detail. What are your thoughts, Vic, on the schedule? It's going to be action-packed next summer, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really interesting. Obviously, now we've got the ladies tier 1, which is great for the club. And personally, I'm really looking forward to it. But that's going to have a massive impact. I mean, we've still got the same number of pitches to play on, but we've got X amount of extra games to fit in around it. Thankfully, a lot of them are double headers, double-headed T20s, which is good. But I'm really excited for the season to come along. The condition we're in, really looking forward to it. Next year, it won't be a case of walking across the square and looking for where we're going to play. We should be able to get a set plan and stick to that, working through the season. It's going to be great. I mean, the side is looking good. Hopefully they get away for a bit of pre-season training somewhere and come back and hit the ground running. And we're all looking forward to a very positive season this season coming up.
Yeah, Vic, when does preparation begin for you in terms of planning which fixture you'll go on, which pitch? When does that start? It's all started, okay.
Well, as soon as we get the fixtures in November, that's the next day's work, is planning where every pitch is going to be. Very soon now, we'll get an email from the ECB asking us where our potential television pitches are going to be. That always has to go in first. Obviously, internationals, television pitches. Then we'll look at T20 pitches. We'll try and keep pretty central if we can. And then it's a question of fitting the other games around as and where we can.
Yeah, so you plan the pitches per game. When does the discussions begin with Ryan Campbell in terms of what he wants that pitch preparing like, and what's your relationship like with Campbell?
Relationship with Campbell is brilliant. Campbell has his plan of what he wants to do. He told me that when he first came to the club, he wanted pitches to hopefully start dry and start hard. He wanted to bat first wherever possible, and he wanted to get a spinner involved in the game later on. So We know his plan. I'm sure if something changes in the meantime, he'll come and have a word about it. But the great thing about Cambo is he never puts a great deal of pressure on us. You never hear him bad talking about the pitch or anything, which is great from our point of view, because there are so many people who do have opinions on the pitches. But I'm a worse critic. I sit and I watch most games, and I know when a pitch is not playing well. I don't really need somebody to tell me, although quite a few people will. So he knows, Cambo knows that I want the side to do well. I want to produce the best pitch that I can for Durham cricket, for England cricket, for the ladies, whoever it may be. We want those people to win as many games as they possibly can. And nothing gets me down more is when I feel that the pitch is not contributing to the side.
Yeah, you just touched on pundits there, giving their feedback. You've obviously done a fair bit of that this summer, being in the commentary box. How much have you enjoyed that, being in with the team?
Oh, it's been a breath of fresh air. I've loved every minute of it. Why anybody would want to sit and watch television and listen to somebody talk about cricket pitches is beyond me. I really don't know. But I've had some terrific feedback from members and other people. And funnily enough, I get calls from all over Britain from people saying, "Oh, I heard you on the commentary." And I think, crikey, you need to get a life. You need to get out a bit more and do something else. But no, I mean, I've loved every minute of coming in and talking cricket with Ash and with Sam and with Rob, and just being around those guys and having a chat about various things. And then you get the pundits come in like Muchie came into a few games, and the Colonel, and to have a bit of banter with those guys. It's brilliant. I mean, I've loved every minute of it, and it's a shame it hasn't been going for 20 years.
It is something which you've also encouraged your staff to do. How important is it, do you believe, for them to come and have a voice and talk about the industry which they work in?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important, because people think of a head groundsman as being someone who makes the cricket pitches, but that is a very small part of the job. And any one of my team could make the cricket pitches. But nowadays, being part of a head groundsman, there's so much more to it. You're dealing with committees, you're dealing with budgets, you're dealing with contractors coming in to set the ground up. You're going out to get prices for machinery, dealing with mechanics and all that sort of thing. And media is very much a part of that. Nowadays, you'll get a Sky commentator come up and stick a microphone under your nose, and you have to immediately talk about something, or someone from the press. And that's a huge part, and that's not for everybody. I know probably 60% of my staff would not be comfortable doing that, but until they do it a few times, they'll never conquer their demons. And it's like everything else in life. The more you do it, the easier it becomes, and the more comfortable you get. What I think the problem is for a lot of people is they feel that they're being judged, but really, every one of those people are experts in their own job.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. And the people that are talking to them don't necessarily know their job so well. And the people who they're talking to don't know their job so well. So I may say something to you and afterwards think, cracker, I forgot to say something, or I didn't get this in, or I should have said that. But the people out there, that they don't know what you're planning to say.
Yeah.
And so until you've been through that situation, and that's why I encourage the lads to get involved in it. They may not like it, but the more they do it, the more comfortable they will become. And hopefully, in the future, when they all become head groundsmen somewhere, then they've already got that skill under their belt, and they can deal with that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and just finally, Vic, just over 3 months to go until the start of the season. What does the rest of the winter look like leading up to that university fixture?
Yeah, well, obviously we get a couple of weeks off now for Christmas, and we'll probably be itching to get back after that 2 weeks. Everything's been set up for the Christmas break now, so we're in good condition. We'll want to get back in January and start getting the field in the outfield in the condition it wants to be. Hopefully the weather plays ball, and gradually we'll start to increase the work now get into February. As I say, hopefully we can get the rollers out there, we can get the cutters on the square, and really get ourselves ahead of the ball. I always like to be ahead. I don't like trying to play catch up. I'd sooner be ahead so that I know that I'm in good position. And once we get to the start of February, the season will just come round straight away. It flies by from February. January can be a bit of a drag, but February it'll fly through, and we'll be into the season. We'll be off and running, and we'll be pulling covers every 5 minutes again.
Excellent. Thanks, Vic.